Hey rockers, welcome back to Bloody F Mess Official. Back again for another quick, short, and sweet tale. Hopefully not too boring. Hey man, gonna talk about legendary guitar player known as George Lynch. Yep, those of you that are in the know remember him and know him from the band Dokken, of course Lynch Mob, and other bands, Souls of We. He is known as one of the best shredders out there, man. Whether you're into hard rock, metal, George Lynch has always been respected in the business as being a badass, as far as a guy that can really shred on guitar, for sure. And Dokken, of course, started back in the day with a guy named Don Dokken. He had an initial lineup of Dokken that I believe toured Germany, and then he picked up this great guitar player, George Lynch, and I believe George was with Dokken since 1981 through 1997. They had a notorious falling out where they had personality and artistic and creative differences happening, and it was just one of those things, man, in rock and roll that happens. You know, you get these creative forces coming together. Sometimes they clash, sometimes they interact more harmoniously, but these guys couldn't seem to get along in the long run, and Don Dokken, I did kind of let go of George Lynch from what I hear in 1997. And then, of course, they reformed in 2016 for a few gigs in Japan. But when George Lynch was let go from Dokken, in 97, he started a band called Lynch Mob. They did some records, and the third album that they did was called Smoke This. Well, basically, he started the band, and then they, after the original lineup broke up in 98, I believe it was, he reformed the band with all unknown members, kind of recreating the sound and taking the music to more of a rap, metal, sort of new metal direction, basically. And the band had a lot of fans, but, you know, it wasn't quite as easy for George Lynch to get attention like it was when he was in the band Dokken. Of course, Dokken had tons of hits, you know, Breaking the Chains, Alone Again, etc., etc. Those guys had a lot of MTV and video exposure, a lot of radio airplay, and the name Dokken is pretty synonymous with hard rock and metal. Maybe not metal like, you know, say Judas Priest or Slayer, of course, but still, let's don't forget George Lynch, shredder. Whether you like him or hate him, doesn't matter. Some people are big Dokken fans. Some people are going to go, boo. But George rocks. And basically, when he was doing the Smoke This tour, he ended up playing in Peoria, Illinois. I was doing the overnights, broadcasting as a radio DJ, 7 nights a week on WWCT Rock 106 radio, right? And one night, which was on Saturday, November the 27th, 1999, the phone rang on one of the 6 hotlines that the radio station had, and it was a friend of mine who was downtown in Peoria at a club called the Infirmary. Well, that night, George Lynch and his band, the Lynch Mob, which was formed with the original drummer for Dokken, the famous version of Dokken, Mick Brown, by the way. Mick Brown and George were playing in Peoria with Lynch Mob. Well, my buddy is hanging out with George Lynch, and George Lynch is being told about, you know, my radio show, The Church of Rock, about Rock 106 Radio, and how my buddy knew me and he could call and get him on the radio. And I guess George Lynch said, hey, give him a call. So my buddy called me up right on the air, and we immediately started talking, and he's like, hey, guess who's sitting next to me? I was like, I have no idea. He says, George Lynch. I said, George Lynch from Dokken and like Lynch Mob? He says, yeah, man. So he wants to talk to you. So he puts George Lynch on the phone with me. I immediately pot him up on the board at the radio station and put him live on the air to talk directly to me and to his fans. It was really cool, man, because a lot of rock stars won't do that. They have to go through official channels or proper channels, as I've run into in the past. And George Lynch wasn't like that. He was very funny. He was talkative. He seemed easygoing and cool. And I think he was very grateful to be on the radio supporting his new band and talking about the old Lynch Mob and being able to promote it, you know, breaking away from the chains of Dokken, you know what I'm saying? And it was really cool to talk to him, man, unexpectedly, because I'd only been in radio for about a few months, 3 or 4 months. And it was nice to have some rock stars calling in. And it was the first of quite a few that I got to talk to on Rock 106 Radio. Right around the same time, I met a guy named Chaplain Chip V, actually Chip V or Troy Smith. Well, he ended up becoming the co-host and co-producer of my radio show, The Church of Rock. And his favorite guitar player ever is undoubtedly George Lynch. So if we flash forward to the year, I believe 2009, 2010, Troy Smith, a.k.a. Chaplain Chip V, says to me, hey man, I think I can set up an interview with George Lynch for the Church of Rock. And I thought, wow, we interview so many cool rockers on the show. It'd be fun to have George on. And Chaplain was really loyal to the show. He was very dedicated. He did a lot of work for the show, like burning CDs, producing stuff. He did a lot of legwork, man. And I said to him, if you can get George Lynch on the phone or set up an interview, I would like you to actually do the interview. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, it's my way of giving back to you for giving back to the show for all these years. And lo and behold, Chaplain Chip V kept his word, and he booked George Lynch, who was a guest on the Church of Rock radio show. And you can hear that interview by Chaplain Chip from 2010-ish. And if you go to the Church of Rock, which is all one word, on YouTube, you can find that very interview. At this point in time, please take the time to subscribe to my channel. I'm stuttering. Please take the time to subscribe to my channel and give it a like if you wish. Leave a comment if you want. And remember, George Lynch does rock. I gotta say, it was a pleasure getting a call from a rocker like that on the air, doing a radio show like I was doing. Shout out to Chaplain Chip V for setting up the 2010 or 2009, whenever it was, George Lynch interview. And thank you for coming to check out my channel, you guys. I'll come back soon with some more punk, rock, and metal tales. And I'm going to do a live chat real soon, probably within the next week, just as a way to catch up with people to see what's happening, man. It's been a while. And one last thing. I have a brand new music video that just dropped. It's called Wax Fruit, and it features Wes Beach on guitar and bass. Of course, he was with the legendary Plasmatics and Shock Therapy and, you know, the Blood Farmers. And he actually co-wrote the song with me. He wrote all the music. I wrote the lyrics and did the vocals. And legendary drummer T.C. Tolliver from like so many freaking bands like the Plasmatics, Peaches and Herb, and other bands. T.C. Tolliver is on drums. Again, it's Bloody F Mess, West Beach, T.C. Tolliver, Wax Fruit on the Church of Rock channel, all one word. It just dropped on Halloween. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for listening to my short and sweet and probably kind of boring story about George Lynch. But I hope you dug it. More soon, I promise, man. Just getting set up in this new place. We moved, and it's been kind of crazy. But yeah, thanks for being here. Rock and roll.